Good evening, everybody. Thank you for letting me present here today. As mentioned, can you put the... Okay, as mentioned before, my name is Shpiner, Professor Shpiner, and I'm the member of YF MAOF team of experienced Israeli and non-Israeli water professionals. And 11 years ago, I established the Water Industry Engineering Department in the Kinneret, which is Sea of Galilee College, and which is now the leading college for training water engineers. I would like to tell you today why and how Israel has transformed from a water-saving country to water manufacturing country, and how it became a manufactured water drinking and irrigating society. I will also explain how this transformation is related to the training program of water professionals. Well, water scarcity is a worldwide problem that probably you all know, but it is aggravating with time. In many countries, conservation programs and activities will not be enough, and the development of alternative resources is a must. You can see here the world picture, and you can see the projection that by 2025, 45% of the world population will living in countries chronically short of water. Now, we are normally relying on natural water. Let's have a look in the recharge of water from rainfall in Israel. You can see that the Israeli recharge from rainfall was for many years about 1,200 millions of cubic meters a year, but it is decreasing. It is decreasing due to climate change and urbanization. It is also, as you can see, it is fluctuating. It is fluctuating over time with hardly any secure figures to rely on. Now, you can see all the red colors, which mean these are droughts. These are years that we don't have enough water. So Israel suffers from droughts that sometimes comes in consecutive years, which deplete the water reservoirs, the Sea of Galilee, the aquifers. Now, with this problem, together with the consumption, you can see the consumption in Israel is nowadays more than 2.5 billions of cubic meters a year, which is above double from the figures we get from nature. Because of that, Israel has tried for many years to conserve the water, to save water, and decrease the use of this dear resource. The process was led by the Israeli Water Authority and included water saving. You can see here some water saving devices. We use a special tag to mark water special devices. We also lowered the water consumption irrigation. I don't know if you are aware to the fact that drip irrigation was invented in Israel. And we did some progressive pricing, water saving campaigns, and more. You can see the results of water saving campaigns. By water saving campaigns that was run in the media, we could drop the water consumptions at home by that 10%, but only when it was joined here together with substantial increase in water tariff, the water consumption dropped by 20% or more. But if you remember my previous slide, we are more than double that. We need more than double that we can get from nature. This is why water conservation is not enough in Israeli case and also in other places in the world. Water resources and alternative water resources have to be developed. In Israeli, wastewater treatment and reuse is increasing since the 90s, and since 2005, a substantial development of water desalination is going on. For example, you can see here in the map many brackish water desalination, which means that these are not seawater, these are saline groundwater, but they are mainly quite small to medium plants. Altogether sum to only 50 million cubic meter a year. So which means we need more than 1 billion meter of cubic meter of good water every year. This is not enough. So with the government support, sewage manufacture has been developed and upgraded over the years. Sewage is treated to high standards with about 37, you can see 37 parameters being monitored. But the most important thing for me is that wastewater treatment plants in Israel are only accepted if a full water reuse program is presented. You can see here the spread of water wastewater treatment plant. They are mainly municipal or even regional plants, which mean a centralized system, but we also have a lot of decentralized plants that are serving the communities. And if you look at this picture, you can see that the percentage of the reuse in Israel, you can see the figures, almost 90% of the water is being used, and some alternative new recipients are added to the list, such as industrial reuse, parks irrigation, and even artificial parks based on treated wastewater. If we look at agricultural consumption, which is a substantial water use, you can see the green is the use of potable water. Now, the total consumption in agriculture is by the top line, which is almost the same, but you can see the difference in the quantities of alternative, which is reused wastewater and silent water, that normally in the near future will become more than 2/3 of the water that is consumed in agriculture. We also developed a lot of desalination plants, mainly the sea desalination plants are mainly in the south of Israel, and I will tell you a bit more about it because this is a change in the equation of the water consumption. Now, in Israel, the seawater desalination plant, cost effectiveness is stretched to the limit. And this enables the owners to sell the water in a very cheap price compared to other plants in the world. We are normally less than 60 American cents per cubic meter. And this is all by technology. Now, this program, the program of developing alternative water resources, enabled us to improve several aspects in the nature and ecology, like gradual improvement of water quality in natural water bodies, restoration of damaged ecological system. I mean, the ecological system were in a very bad situation before this revolution, and also development of recreation facilities around restored water bodies. Now, I told you before that the change of water supply is substantial. In the past, the water, most of the water came from the northern Israel and flew to the south, from the Sea of Galilee, later the aquifer in the north, and the consumption went down to the center of Israel and the south, normally by taking the water through the national water carrier and sending it to regional water distributions. The time that takes the water to flow from the Sea of Galilee to the central of Israel was about 12 hours. As mentioned, nowadays, most of the water is produced in the south, which means the center of gravity of water resources in Israel has moved to the south of Israel. So water has to be discharged from the south to the north. This is extreme change. Also, the fact that the water desalination plants are very close to the consumers made us take advantageous steps for quality control and quality assurance of the water, which is also carried out by progressive technologies. If we look at this slide, which is the last one about the Israeli water sector, we can see all the yellow part, the white part is natural potable water, which means until the 90s, this was the only water source. But when we are moving forward to the future, in 2050, only 25% of the water in Israel will be based on natural resources. Now, all this program cannot happen without the training of water professionals. And Israel has encouraged the development of professionals training program of both academic and non-academic program. Actually, the innovative water industry engineering program, which I mentioned before, in the Kinneret Academic College, runs a very up-to-date program together with the industry, a lot of cooperation with industrial companies, which enable to substantially cutting down the time needed of adjustment to its graduates in the industries. And after 7 years of graduates, I can tell you that is a big revolution. A lot of our graduates already manage very large and substantial facilities in the water sector. Also, the water standards dictate in Israel, which is very important, a certain level of training for personnel that wants to work in the water sector. Now, all of this we want to bring to other countries by MAOF staff. The abilities and our ambition to assist in the training of water professionals worldwide, based on the Israeli experience, of course. And we designed a plan that is called the 4 tiers plan. We are speaking about an academic tier, and a public and private companies tier, a public sector tier, and education and public awareness tier. Now, every tier, I will briefly describe, but in every tier, the first part will be a need assessment and development of tailored program to the target country. Not every country has the same needs, not every country has the same infrastructure, so giving, let's say, a unique or the same program of training everywhere is not reasonable. So we want to do a tailor-made programs, and MAOF can offer several services, but not limited to this one, like development of introduction of certificate studies, development, introduction of postgraduate continuing studies. I know this is quite familiar or common in Latin American countries. And in the interdisciplinary course in the field of environmental and sustainability, and conduction of study tours, which can also take part in Israel, not just in the country that we're dealing with. On the public and private companies tier, we can develop and run courses for water workers, technicians, and engineers. Also, it's depending on the needs of the special country. And also develop additional and long-term training. We must educate, enough personnel in each country to run a very, let's say, structured and good water sector. Also, when it comes to the government, a lot of work can be done, like hackathons, like develop professional courses, and run water sector management courses for government and public professionals. In Israel, the government and the public sector part in the water sector is very, very important. At the end of the day, they set the standards and they monitor the water quality. We also can assist in the establishment of professional forums. Professional forums, especially nowadays, assist in transfer of knowledge and also increase professionality all over the range of the professional sector. Now, the last but not least is, of course, the educational and public awareness tier. Everything starts from down from the bottom to the top. In this case, we can supply a special service. We want to do it together with Scholas. We can develop and run educational program for social activities, community leaders, environmentalists, environmental protection activists. Also, a big part of the activity in Israel is run sustainability program in schools, elementary and secondary schools. We can develop and run community capacity building programs, and we see the University of Meaning as our strategic partner in spreading this knowledge to the benefit of the people. Now, MAOF is not just about education, it's about developing technology and also carrying out a project. And when we're speaking about developing of custom-made technologies, I will explain why we are speaking about custom-made. We are interested to join forces in the development of custom-made technologies in Latin America, instead of the current situation that adopting foreign technologies that are not always the best solution for the Latin America countries. The selected and development technologies can later be tested together with the universities in applied research program together with MAOF experts. And another important thing when we're speaking about full-scale project, MAOF has a lot of staff of experts and also partners highly experienced in various topics in the water sector. So the list of potential projects can include some like doing a master plans for development of the water sector, design and construction of water and wastewater treatment plants, decrease of leakage, non-revenue water we call it, and improvement of energy efficiency in water companies, and treatment of agriculture and industrial wastewater, as I said, as a small sample for the activities. So altogether, this is the Israeli model, like integrated management resources of water. And I want to thank, with your permission, the Water Authority, the Israeli Water Authority, for some of the slides presented here. And with your permission, I would like to say a few words in Spanish to our friends and partners. So quiero tomar un poco más de su tiempo para explicar nuestros objetivos y actividades en Latinoamérica. En nuestra empresa tenemos la pasión por compartir nuestra experiencia y nuestro conocimiento con compañeros en Latinoamérica. Los últimos meses he encontrado a muchos profesionales de las universidades y empresas de agua de la región. Me impresioné de la actividad y el conocimiento de estos profesionales. Por eso queremos unir fuerzas para hacer muchas actividades juntos. Por ejemplo, desarrollar nuevas tecnologías que sean las mejores para las necesidades en Latinoamérica. Hacer proyectos pilotos juntos, así como grandes proyectos del agua, aguas negras, irrigación, conservación del agua y energía. Por lo tanto, tengo el honor y el placer de invitarlos, señoras y señores, mañana a nuestra mesa redonda para discutir futuras oportunidades de cooperación. Muchísimas gracias.